Hello, and thank you so much for taking a moment to view this video. I'm Christine Crosby. Your investment of a few minutes is going to leave you with a much better understanding of a very serious health issue facing Canadians, especially children. Diabetes affects over 2 million Canadians and costs the economy in excess of $13 billion a year in healthcare and lost productivity. Most Canadians don't realize that diabetes and its complications are the leading cause of death among North Americans. Well over 200,000 Canadians have type 1 diabetes, and Canada has the third highest occurrence rate of type 1 diabetes in children 14 years or younger in the world. And even more alarming is that the type 1 diabetes occurrence rate is rising by 3 to 5% each year, with the greatest rise occurring in 5 to 9-year-olds. Type 1 or juvenile diabetes is the most severe form of diabetes, as it attacks people of all ages, from infants to adults, leaving them dependent on constant manual monitoring of blood sugar levels and having to inject insulin. One's level of physical activity or diet does not bring on type 1 diabetes. This is an autoimmune disease, which basically means the body is turning on itself and destroying the life-sustaining insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. If left undiagnosed, a person could potentially die within days of the onset of symptoms. The discovery of insulin over 80 years ago in Canada has saved millions of lives around the world. However, insulin is not a cure for diabetes. It only allows a person to live each day. The strict regimen of diet, exercise, blood sugar monitoring, and insulin delivery become a part of everyday life for someone living with type 1 diabetes and do not guarantee a future free from complications such as kidney failure, adult blindness, non-traumatic amputations, nerve damage, stroke, and heart attacks. People with diabetes are 2 to 4 times more likely to have a heart attack or stroke than someone without the disease. The triggers of type 1 diabetes have long been a mystery to scientists and doctors. Just a few years ago, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation was a major funding partner in one of the largest pediatric clinical trials in the world to uncover what environmental factors contribute to the onset of type 1 diabetes. Let's take a brief moment to hear from some brave young people who endure this disease every day.
Some of the hardest parts about living with type 1 diabetes are like not being able to eat what I want to eat and testing. I have to test my blood a lot, and I have to give needles, but I don't have to give them that much anymore because I have to pump, but it's still pretty hard.
The hardest part about living with diabetes is probably checking my blood sugar because I have to check very often. I have to check 4 or 5 times a day, and I have to make sure that I don't go too low.
The hardest part about living with type 1 diabetes is that I always have to balance my sugar, my diet, my exercise, and my insulin.
The hardest thing about living with diabetes for me is poking my finger 8 times a day.
If a cure is found for diabetes, I'd probably go to Tim Hortons right away and get a really sugary donut or something like that.
Another form of diabetes is type 2 or adult onset diabetes. This is where the pancreas makes some insulin, but either there's not enough of it or the cells don't use it well. When you hear about diabetes being preventable, it's type 2 diabetes that can be prevented through proper nutrition and regular exercise, not type 1. So what exactly is the world doing about this problem? A lot. Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation is the world's largest funder and advocate of diabetes research and has been behind virtually every breakthrough on the path to curing diabetes. JDRF has been responsible for funding over $1 billion to diabetes research worldwide since its inception just over 30 years ago.
Canada is very strong when it comes to diabetes research. I would say that they are one of the global leaders in this field. I can say that because there have been a number of tremendous discoveries within Canada. For example, the discovery of insulin by Banting, Best, McLeod, and Collett some 80 years ago. 40 years ago, Till and McCulloch provided evidence or proof for the existence of stem cells. More recently, we heard about the wonderful refinements in islet transplant coming out of Edmonton from Dr. James Shapiro and Ray Rajat and colleagues. And that's just to name a few. There have been many wonderful discoveries. There's a tremendous depth of research covering all aspects of diabetes research in Canada, and therefore I'm very proud to be doing diabetes research here.
The real promise of the future, I think, is a renewable source of islet cells. and that means pancreatic stem cells, cells that can be taken out, expanded in culture, amplified, and injected back into patients to provide a long-term source of new islet cells. 25 years from now, what we'll be doing, hopefully, is activating those endogenous pancreatic stem cells that are present in our pancreas to get them to produce new insulin-producing cells in our own body, essentially getting our body to regenerate itself.
The discovery of insulin, which is a Canadian discovery and a Canadian contribution to medical science, is still the mainstay today in 2006. The islet transplant progress that we made with the Edmonton Protocol is the first for Canada and first worldwide. And here at the University of Alberta, our JDRF Clinical Centre for Islet Transplantation is still the leading centre for islet transplantation worldwide in terms of the numbers of patients we treat, and in terms of the progress we've made. I mean, this treatment was an experimental treatment in 1999. In 2006, it's an established clinical care treatment for selected patients with brittle type 1 diabetes.
But I think if you take the entire research community of JDRF in Canada, I think we're strong. If you look, for example, at the number of papers on diabetes research that's published, if we take the 1 to 10 ratio with the United States in terms of population and financial power, we publish more than 1/10 of what is published in the United States. So I think we're doing well.
A concerted effort is required to find a cure and protect future generations from having to live with diabetes. There are many ways you can get involved. Speak to your local member of parliament, raise awareness in your school or place of work, take part in the Walk to Cure Diabetes or Ride for Diabetes research, or the many events happening all across the country. Thank you once again for watching this video, and please visit jdrf.ca for the latest news on research and ways to get involved.
If a cure was found today, I would probably get a whole box of meringues and eat them all because I love meringues.
Well, I care about helping GDRF find a cure because it's important that everybody can live normally and that nobody has to be different and that everybody can be the same.
Well, I would say to other kids with diabetes or adults that eat well, stay fit, and don't let diabetes control you.
Thanks, JDRF, for putting together all the money that we've raised to help find a cure for diabetes.